colleagues at ESPN and their bosses at Disney to try and find out what kind of packages of involvement we can extract and put together for a brand that allows the brand to benefit from the relationship that people have with ESPN, which is pretty strong. So there's also advertiser-created content. Now, advertiser-created content includes really complicated things like commercials, for example. We've all seen those. Actually, probably none of you have. I'm just thinking. It's really good. What you should do, go home and switch on, like Channel 4 on your TV and just sit there for about half an hour and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's advertiser-created content like commercials, but there's also advertiser-created content like websites. There's advertiser-created content like In the Motherhood that Mindshare put together for Unilever, which was funded programming, and the product that Ogilvy put together for Hellmann's Mayonnaise, in order to create some kind of brand advocacy channel where there was a quality of content linked to that brand that people wanted to use and interact with and build their perceptions of that brand. And of course, there's co-created content, and we're seeing more and more of that, of advertisers and publishers. Is that Mark's out of? No, it's not. It's how many minutes left. Okay, just checking. Because if it had been Mark's out of 10, I would have been thrilled. It's like the Russian judge and the scathing. 5.9, 5.8. Sorry. But co-created content, where brands are working increasingly with publishers to develop things together. And of course, brands working with consumers to create content too. I was rather hoping that 2008 might be the year of creative director-generated content, but it seems that I'm going to be wrong about that, as I have been about so many other things. And of course, finally, there's user-generated content as well. And I think user-generated content, in terms of the commercials that people choose to make, are a curiosity and a sideshow and all of that. But I think the things that users say about brands and the things they share with other people about brands are incredibly important. And we saw yesterday, and by the way, if ever I see a program in which Tina Sharkey is speaking immediately before I am, I'm going to insist that the program running order is changed. I will never, ever do that, just to be clear. And we saw yesterday probably one of the outstanding examples of advertiser and consumer-created content that's in the market today. So we also have to think not just about the media we buy, which is something we've been doing for a long time, but also about the media we earn and find appropriate metrics for that. And by the way, an appropriate way of us getting paid for creating those things. And finally, the currency. Now, we trade in lots of different things. So we trade in GRPs, we trade in pages in Vogue and many things like that. We trade in page views. And those are really internal currencies of media. They only kind of exist within the imagination of us media people. But we also trade in external currencies of business. So clicks can be defined as an external currency of business, actions clearly, and sales finally. And what we have is multiple currencies, and sometimes multiple currencies within the same vendor community. So what our ambition is for our traders, and there's only so many people alive on this planet that are really fantastic negotiators. We want our traders to be looking at what the trade-offs and the arbitrage are between all of these different kinds of currencies in order to achieve, once again, the maximum efficiency for our clients in order to deliver the greatest effectiveness for their budgets. So, great news is we let the planners plan and let the traders trade. It doesn't mean you're going to go into one of our agencies and find a guy that can only talk to you at the high level and can't actually make a transaction, but we should have umbrella level relationships with you, our media partners, that allow us to get on with the higher order thinking and not all the nonsense we have of faxing. It's like great, I love the fact that we fax things to each other. I think that's hilarious. And I get there and I try and print something off a printer and there's like a 900 faxes of another load of 90-day-old invoices. And the bad news is they're the fresh ones. Hey, we've got to make a living somehow. We've got to make a living somehow. We're actually, GroupM is merely a front for a money laundering operation. That's not to be recorded. Please, please, any bloggers in the room, not that one, and nothing else. He just makes this whole speech about the power of word of mouth and then says that in public. Oh, yeah. So the question is, though, is that enough? And I have a colleague who's the smartest guy in the employment of GroupM, who's called Nick Emery. He's the Director of Strategy for Mindshare, who again will remain nameless. And what Nick said to me about 2 years ago was this, and I don't think he ever intended it to appear on a PowerPoint chart at a conference. He said, Rob, what kind of business do we have if clients ask us for more and more, then fire us when there's nothing left to squeeze? And you know, he makes a fair point. And there's an awful lot of decisions that have been made in the advertising process that are very much like that. So what do we do about it? Well, first you have to decide what it is that you are now. And this is what we are now. The world's largest vertically and regionally integrated commercial message distribution business. And that's what we do. We transfer value from the owner of inventory to our clients. What we need to become, and are radically in the process of becoming, is a truly major distributor and sometime producer. So we own a TV show called October Road, for example, which some of you may see, and we've got to keep our fingers crossed that it gets picked up for the 3rd season, so give me good karma on that. We need to be a major data management center. We need to be an arbitrator of value, which I'll touch on in a moment, and we need to step up and recognize that the thing we deal with is a significant component of the distribution chain, and not just say, oh, that's good, oh, that's interesting, but find a way of how we can make that work commercially to our advantage and to that of our clients. So today, we plan and trade on behalf of our clients, but tomorrow, and in some places today, we also trade on our own behalf, where we can create value and deserve our place in the chain. And so the question is this okay or not? Because it's a controversial issue. Is it church and state about whether we can do both of those things? Well, we think the controversy is easily resolved. If we can demonstrate to our clients that we take risk and create value, it's okay. If you really want to make a client laugh in the advertising business, tell them at the end of the pitch, we aspire to be your business partners. That makes them laugh, because you know why? What business partners do is they put skin in the game and they share risk. And unless agencies are prepared to do that, then they have no right to make that speech. So we can create and distribute content, and if the market and the consumer judges it to be of value, and we've pre-funded it and created that content, we are perfectly entitled to share in the revenue streams that come from it. We're perfectly entitled, if we take the risk on the acquisition of inventory or take the risk on developing technology and relationships that can create an arbitrage market in business value of impressions and leads, we can share in that. If we work with our clients to develop cost per action metrics and cost per sale metrics that produce revenue to them, as long as we're prepared to trade away a service element of our fee, as in, we charge at the moment for the cost of inputs, but if again we charge on the basis of the value of the outputs, we're perfectly entitled to do that too. And so we also can do it if we actually interpose, like our investment in Vidi, and take ourselves into a share of the addressable value chain and take risk in doing that. So in short, we can be more than an agency. I think we are more than an agency already, and we can do it if we own part of the enablement, if we own some of the data that we've invested our money and resources in creating, crucially, if we put skin in the game, and just as crucially, if we declare that skin in game to our customers. And I'd be very happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Promised provocation. So we've got a microphone in the back. We'll take questions. Rob, I'll start it. We have a microphone in the front too. I'll start it with something that you and I have talked about before. But it's something that you kind of skirted over in here, and it is the rebundling question. I mean, this implies that strategy plus channel plus content must come together in creating value for clients in some way. Can that happen without there being actual, honest-to-God, declared rebundling of creative, strategic, and media resources in the agency?
I have no recollection of that conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think the answer is manifestly no. I mean,